Before we begin, a quick but important note. Tonight's episode covers graphic descriptions of violence, mass suicide, manipulation, and the tragic loss of life. We discuss homicides, coercive control, and references to self harm. Listener discretion is strongly advised. If you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of self harm, please reach out for help. Call 988 in the US or find international hotlines at findahelpline.com. Stay safe and take care of yourselves as we dive into this episode.
Tonight, we're diving headfirst into the twisted minds of manipulation, control, and mass tragedy. Buckle up because this one, it's not for the faint of heart.
We're taking you back to the 60s and 70s when peace and love were just a mask for something much darker. I'm covering the Jonestown Massacre, also known as the Kool-Aid Cult, and how one man led over 900 people to their deaths in the name of a so-called utopia.
And I'm dragging us through the dirt of Spawn Ranch with Charles Manson, the failed musician turned cult leader who orchestrated one of the most infamous murder sprees in American history without ever laying a hand on his victims.
It's mind control, mass manipulation, and the haunting question: how did this many people fall under that much influence?
So, grab your flashlights, maybe something stronger than Kool-Aid, and let's chase midnight.
And we're back.
We're back.
Did you miss us? I missed you.
I missed everybody. Dude, I'm telling you, this is episode, once again, just chaos.
I'm excited though. I'm excited for you to hear all of the details of this because it really messed with my mind, if I'm being so for real. Shoot, I'll go ahead and jump in. Do you want to hear about the
Yeah,
Jonestown
get it
Massacre?
started. Get it started.
Okay, so for this, we need to start from the beginning so that you can understand how we got to where we are. So let me give you a quick little backstory before we get to the nitty gritty, the meat and potatoes.
Jump in. Jump
Okay?
in.
So Jim Jones is our main man. Jim Jones was born May 13th, 1931, and as a child, he developed an affinity for Pentecostalism and a desire to preach. He was ordained as a Christian minister later in life, and he grew a following through his involvement in the Pentecostal Latter Rain movement and the Healing Revival during the 50s. So Reverend Jones founded his own organization called the People's Temple in Indianapolis in 1955. In 1956, he began to distinguish himself by actively participating in civil rights activism, founding the temple as a fully integrated congregation, which was like a big deal back then.
Yeah.
In 1964, he joined and was ordained a minister by the Disciples of Christ, his attraction to that denomination stemming from the autonomy and the tolerance that they offered those with differing viewpoints. In 1965, Jones moved the temple to San Francisco, California, and he got heavily involved in politics, which built the connections that would eventually work in his favor. So in the late 1960s, Jones got very vocal about his supposed divinity and his intentions with the People's Temple, which at its peak had a congregation of over 3,000 people, to which he became progressively more and more controlling. His followers engaged in a communal lifestyle, and many even turned over all of their income and property to Jones, who directed all aspects of the community life. So abuse allegations began surfacing, and following a period of negative publicity at People's Temple, Jones ordered the construction of a new commune in Guyana in 1974, and he named it Jonestown.
Why would you name the town after yourself?
Are you surprised?
No. Like, from what I'm hearing, no, but come on
So
now.
this man convinced many of his followers to live there with him by claiming that he was constructing a, and I quote, socialist paradise free from the oppression of the United States government. He is promising just all of these people, thousands of people, a better life. And we're going to go move to South America in the middle of the wilderness and build a community. And it's going to be paradise. and you're going to be free from everything that you don't like. Would you do it?
No.
Flash forward to 1978, when reports surfaced of human rights abuses and accusations that people were being held in Jonestown against their will. We have Deborah Layton Blakey to thank for even having this information. From 18 years old in August of 1971 until May 13th, 1978, Blakey was a member of the People's Temple, and she moved to Jonestown with the group and became the financial secretary for the temple and one of the Reverend's most trusted aides. So she sometimes traveled from Jonestown to the villa, which is a temple base located about 130 miles away in Georgetown, Guyana, as they provided food and supplies to Jonestown. So on May 12th, the 25-year-old was rescued in secret from Jonestown. She was brought to the U.S. Embassy, where an airline ticket from her family was waiting for her, and she gave a short statement to the embassy consul about her reasons for wanting to leave Jonestown. She then ended up on the same flight as him back to the U.S., where they spoke more in depth about it all. According to the embassy employee, she spoke of some military grade weapons that she'd seen in Jonestown, so he recommended going to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, about her concerns. About a month later, she issued a lengthy affidavit to the press with details about the Reverend's plans for mass death, along with the conditions of the Jonestown community. Her statement describes how Reverend Jones orders public beatings, has a squad of 50 armed guards, and has involved 1,100 followers in a threat of mass suicide. It also claims that Reverend Jones had performed false medical cures to win converts, that he oversaw beatings of the church members in closed meetings, and that he amassed over $5 million in donations that were not even used to benefit the community.
Where is the money going?
To himself,
For what?
to himself, because he's the holy one. I don't know.
Yeah, but for what though?
Nobody knows.
If you're saving all this money and not bringing it to the community, why are you saving it?
According to Layton, Jones had become paranoid and obsessed with traitors in his own ranks who question him or do not work hard enough in the farm fields. The temple fields were patrolled by 2 rings of khaki uniformed armed guards, men and women members of the security alert teams that he just came up with, by the way, who had access to 200 to 300 rifles, 25 pistols, and a homemade bazooka. Discipline was handled at public gatherings of the entire church community. On one occasion, an elderly lady was humiliated by being forced to strip in front of everybody, and younger members are knuckled by having fists ground into their forehead, and others are ordered to an underground box where they must sit for a day at a time. The Reverend had rigged the work fields with loudspeakers and would talk for stretches of up to 6 hours. Farmhands were expected to work from 5:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. with an hour for lunch and another hour for dinner before more sermons that last until midnight. The diet consisted mostly of rice taken from the Guyanese capital of Georgetown because the farm was not expected to be self-sufficient for another 3 years at this point. She also stated that on the occasion of visits from outsiders whom Jones was trying to impress, church members would be treated to meat and vegetables. Other trusted followers, she claimed, were drilled to give optimistic opinions about life at the mission. Jones, who went to elaborate lengths to protect his public image in California, had remained at the mission and refused to even travel to Georgetown. Do you want to know why?
Yeah.
Because he had concerns about a pending child custody case in the capital.
Oh.
Tea, right?
Ooh. Okay.
Deborah says that the 1,100 followers were told to drink a bitter brown liquid potion, after which they would supposedly fall asleep and be shot by Jones's guards. This is a rehearsal, and the rehearsal went as far as having the community drink a fake potion, which was actually just fruit punch flavor aid, which is like a knockoff Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
This has been called the Kool-Aid cult for as long as I can remember, and it wasn't Kool-Aid, it was Flavor Aid. The packet with the straw with like sunglasses on and
Wait,
stuff.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were instructed to drink this fruit punch Flavor Aid before Jones spoke about calling the plan off completely. So they did all of these rehearsals. And then he just says that it's fine, we're not going to do it anymore. Deborah Layton said that she was able to leave Guyana by devising a trip to Georgetown. After several days, she secretly arranged an emergency passport, as Reverend Jones had kept everyone's IDs and passports locked away in his office, and she flew to New York on May 13th. Everyone there wants to leave, I'm sure of it, Layton says, but you never get a chance to be alone. Everyone is told to spy on other people. She also described how Jones controlled bank accounts in Europe, California, and Guyana containing at least $10 million total. After an article was released detailing her affidavit in the San Francisco Chronicle on June 15, 1978, the San Francisco People's Temple reached out to Deborah's family, Lisa and Larry Layton, who were also members of the following, for a quote to refute her words. Her mom Lisa states, "These lies are too ridiculous to refute. We are treated beautifully here." And her brother Larry adds, "We are treated beautifully. Dot dot dot."
Her own family.
Now, these two also went to Jonestown with her. So they were
Yeah.
there. And the San Francisco location reached out to them and was like, nah, say that she's faking it. Say that this is not real. But all they can say is, we're treated beautifully. Me, me, me.
But they just had a practice run of drinking Flavor Aid.
Yeah.
Okay.
San Francisco's temple officer also added to the statement, "We absolutely refute all of the charges. This just makes us believe more than ever that there is a conspiracy against the church." So that affidavit that she put out became an important document in the campaign of the concerned relatives to bring attention to their cause and helped Congressman Leo Ryan in his decision to go to Jonestown 6 months later. And he just wanted to rescue anybody who wanted to leave and was unable. On November 14th, 1978, Congressman Leo Ryan flew into Georgetown with a delegation that included concerned relatives of the Jonestown members, journalists, notably an NBC crew, and congressional aides. Over the next few days, Ryan and his team met with the Concerned Relatives campaign, filed formal requests, and sent a letter asking Jim Jones for access to his compound that he called Jonestown. On November 17th, Ryan's group took a plane from Georgetown to the Port Katuma airstrip and then traveled by ground into Jonestown. They were welcomed in the afternoon, toured the compound, and reportedly described it as pretty orderly. However, later that evening, the community began growing hostile as defector seeking members. Do you know what defector means?
Nope.
So it's people that are giving up on the community. They're giving up on this idea of Jonestown and they want to leave. So all of these people who want to leave have passed hidden notes to journalists requesting rescue. A temple member who was later identified as Don Sly even lunged at Ryan with a knife, but he was restrained and Ryan survived. The next afternoon, on November 18th, Ryan's team and the defectors were organized to leave Jonestown together. But due to the number of people who wanted to leave, this caused delays as another aircraft was needed. So they stayed and they hung out at Port Katuma airstrip waiting for the second plane. As they began boarding the planes, Larry Layton, do you remember who that is?
Yeah, that's the brother,
It's the
right?
brother of the girl who escaped secretly,
Yeah.
right? He was there pretending to be a defector. He was pretending that he wanted to leave, and he began firing at the smaller of the two groups boarding the plane.
Oh my gosh.
At the same time, armed men from the temple arrived via truck to the other plane, effectively killing Congressman Leo Ryan, NBC staff Don Harris and the cameraman Bob Brown, photographer Greg Robinson, and defector Patricia Parks, who was just trying to escape from the compound. Over a dozen were badly wounded, including future Congresswoman Jackie Spear, who did survive. Word of the killings on the airstrip reached Jonestown quickly, which gave Jim Jones even more of a reason to believe that he was being targeted, and his paranoia grew. Jones used the killing to portray the outside world as an existential threat, framing it as proof that, quote, they were coming to destroy them. So that narrative became the pretext to finally enact what he had long been rehearsing, which is what he called the revolutionary suicide. On the same day of the Tarmac killings, later that afternoon, Jones got over the large speakers and called a community meeting under the pavilion, and this is where things get even crazier. A large metal tub of poisoned grape flavorade, which again is often misremembered as Kool-Aid. It wasn't Kool-Aid,
It was
it was
Flavorade.
Flavorade. Was prepared and laced with cyanide and other sedatives and antipsychotics.
Oh.
Children were giving the poison first, some by cup and some by syringe, just straight into their mouth, and often by parents under duress or by the temple, quote, assistants. And then the adults were instructed to drink from their own cups. Some members resisted, but armed guards and loyalists forced compliance, and a few who tried to flee the pavilion were reportedly shot.
Oh my goodness.
The event was chaotic, with many dying either by ingestion, injection, or outright murder to ensure completion, is what they say. While Jones's followers were partaking in the mass suicide, whether willingly or not, he slipped off to his office across the plot to make a phone call.
Who do you have to call right now?
Do you remember when I said that Georgetown had what they called the villa?
Yeah,
It was kind of like their headquarters. It was just a way to keep communication with, I guess, the capital, mainland.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, well, he calls them and tells them that it's time to act, that they need to take their lives in, quote, whatever means necessary, as a part of the final act, warning that the authorities would be coming for them and they must remain loyal to the temple. Sharon Amos is a fiercely loyal temple member and one of the top aides to Jones. She's in charge at the villa, so she's the one who answered the phone call. So that day, she had her 3 children with her, and when she heard the instructions, she escorted them to the bathroom along with 2 other People's Temple members, Leanne Harris and Claire Gennaro,
Nope.
who then assisted her in slitting her kids' throats with a kitchen knife before committing the act on themselves.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
Her children, Krista was 11, Martin was 10, and Stephanie was 9.
Nope.
Guyanese authorities arrived soon after this and found the gruesome scene. But notably, not everyone at the villa followed the order. Some members either refused or were too shocked to comply and survived. These villa deaths are often considered the extension of the Jonestown massacre because they were a part of Jones's orchestrated final act of control, but they were the only temple deaths outside of Jonestown itself that day. By the end of the evening, 909 people were found dead in Jamestown from the mass poisoning, 300 of them being children. The community is left largely silent, only a small number of survivors remain hidden or escaped. Jim Jones, the man who masterminded the Jonestown tragedy, ended his own life with a gunshot to the head as the mass poisoning unfolded around him. Whether he pulled the trigger himself or was killed by a loyal follower, the final act was his exit from a world that he had controlled through fear and manipulation the whole time. Though Jonestown ended in heartbreak, we honor and remember the over 900 souls who lost their lives in that tragedy. Their stories remind us of the human cost of manipulation and control, and by keeping their memory alive, we commit to learning from the past so that such darkness can never take hold again.
Listening to you read about this, I forgot that we watched a movie called The Sacrament
Mm-hmm.
on the Jonestown
It is on
cult.
Tubi. I recommend watching. Um, the similarities are uncanny. It really it is a hard watch,
Yeah.
and it's hard for me to even wrap my brain around the fact that this is real and this happened. It just has my head on a spin. And currently, the location of Jonestown. Now, this was in South America, Guyana, and I don't think I ever specified, but to get there from Georgetown, which is the capital, you have to travel 2 days. It takes 2 days by vehicle to get out. This is how far deep in the woods they were. They were in the middle of the forest.
Insane.
So the location as it stands now is overgrown. Now there are some remnants of an old like Ford truck. Um and the pavilion area. They do have a like headstone that has in honor of the 909 lives lost kind of plaque on it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, you cannot even tell that this tragedy happened there. And that is insane. It is easy to just erase and rewrite.
That is insane.
But all that to say, I am ready to move on and I'm ready to hear what you have planned.
Okay, well, I want to take you back to California 1969. So, a man with a guitar and a god complex was gathering lost souls like moths to a flame. He didn't hold a weapon and he didn't tie anyone up, but somehow his words could kill. So, this is the story of Charles Manson. Not just the man, but the cult, the murders, and the terrifying power he had over people who would do anything, and I mean anything, to please him. So they called him a prophet, and he said he was Christ and the devil. And when it was over, the world just wouldn't be the same. So, are you ready to meet the Manson family?
I'm ready.
So, we're going to do a little backstory on him. So, born in 1939 to a teenage mother who was 16, Charles Manson grew up neglected with a rough upbringing, in and out of juvenile detention, petty crimes, and time in prison. Manson's mother was in prison for armed robbery, and he lived with an aunt and uncle in West Virginia. Manson was charismatic, manipulative, and obsessed with music and power. By the late 1960s, he gathered a group of followers, mainly young women, who worshipped him like a god. His followers and he lived communally in Spawn Ranch, an old movie set near LA, preaching peace and love while preparing for apocalyptic war.
Ooh, I have seen pictures of Spawn Ranch, and it's like an old timey western kind of movie set.
Yes.
Eee.
So the group rejected modern society, shared everything, dropped acid, and saw Manson as a messiah figure who was going to lead them through the end times. And Manson's belief was helter skelter. He twisted Beatles lyrics into a prophecy of an upcoming race war. He believed black Americans would rise up and kill all white people except him and his followers, who would survive by hiding in the desert.
Oh, please.
When it didn't happen fast enough, he decided to start the war himself by framing black Americans for horrific murders.
He like screwed himself. He's already got this group believing that this stuff is going to happen and it's not going to. So he's like, "Oh man,
I
I've
gotta
already
start it.
convinced all of these people. Now I got to do something
Yeah.
or they're not going to trust me." Ah, what a stupid boy.
Manson treated murder like a performance, but I'm gonna go into more detail now of everything. I wanted to give you a little rough draft right there of what you're getting yourself into. Okay, so Charles Manson had a long and messy rap sheet before the major murders that happened. All these started when he was 9 years old, but the first one I could find was in 1947 when he was 13. He was sent to Giabalt School for Boys in Indiana, a reform school. He escaped multiple times over the next few years. And then in 1949 to 1951, age 15 to 17, he was in and out of a boys' home and juvenile centers. He continued to get caught for auto theft, armed robbery, breaking into stores, and stealing from vending machines. In 1951, he was 18. He was arrested for stealing a car and driving it across state lines. And if you didn't know, that was a federal offense.
That's a federal offense.
So Manson was sent to the Federal Reformatory in Virginia, then transferred to a tougher prison in Ohio for bad behavior. In 1955 to 1956, he was about ages 21 to 22. He married a 17-year-old Rosalie Jean Willis.
Okay, hang on. What? Wait. I don't remember there being such an age. 17?
17. Yeah. They were married from 1955 to 1958 and they had a kid together. Manson was arrested for using stolen checks and trying to cash a fake U.S. Treasury check. He was convicted of mail fraud and sentenced to 5 years probation. He was then arrested shortly after for pimping and transporting women across state lines for prostitution. But then in 1959 to 1967, Manson remarried to Candy Stevens. They also had a kid together, and he was still in and out of prison for pimping, credit card fraud, car theft, and parole violations.
Quit letting him out.
He spent most of this time in Terminal Island in California, McNeil Island Penitentiary in Washington, and Federal Correctional Institution in Terminal Island. During this time, he studied music, read obsessively about mind control and religion, and learned how to manipulate people, especially using drugs and sex. And by the time he was released in 1967, the Summer of Love was in full swing, and Manson saw his chance, and a quote, "You're all just puppets, I pull the strings." I love looking over and seeing you just shake your head like you can't speak either. You're just like,
I am at a loss for words, and that is rare for me.
so let's talk about Helter Skelter, the race war prophecy. Manson believed that an apocalyptic race war was coming soon, and the black Americans would rise up and overthrow white society.
But where did he get this notion from? Why is he just making this up?
He twisted the Beatles song, Helter Skelter, into a code predicting this chaos.
Okay.
His cult would hide in the desert during the war, then emerge to rule the world because black Americans wouldn't know how to lead, is what he said.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is looking down at us and shaking his head too. What? Okay,
It's
sorry.
completely unhinged. It is. It's completely unhinged, racist, and disturbing, but he truly believed it and got others to believe it too. So the spark of Helter Skelter sent a message to society and scared people into chaos. So I also want to talk a little bit more on Spawn Ranch. So daily LSD trips and group activity rituals. Manson made followers give up their identities, their possessions, and even their names. He broke them down mentally so he could rebuild them in his image, and Manson would preach for hours while high and say he was Jesus, Satan, or both.
Pick one. You can't be both.
Followers believe he had supernatural powers, and he told them, quote, "There is no wrong. If you kill someone, it's their time to die. Don't second guess the universe." Hello?
Hello, that is not something that is just written in the stars.
Alright, so these were some of the people standing with Manson. Okay? I may struggle to say their names, so just be prepared for that.
Okay.
Susan Atkins, aka Sadie Mae, was a devoted follower who was involved in the Tate murders. Then you have Patricia Krenwinkel, said she felt nothing while stabbing people. Leslie Van Houten participated in the LaBianca murders. Tex Watson, who was Manson's muscle, quote, quote, and primary killer. Linda Casaban drove the car during the murders, but didn't participate and later turned state's witness. There were dozens of others that cycled in and out of the group. So now we're going to go to the date. It was August 8th and 9th, 1969, of Sharon Tate, a pregnant actress and wife of director Roman Polanski, and 4 others were killed. Manson sent 4 of his followers, Tex, Susan, Patricia, and Linda, to kill them. So they broke into the home and brutally murdered everyone inside, and Sharon was stabbed 16 times while begging for her baby's life. They wrote, quote, "pig" in blood on the front door. So the next day, August 10th, 1969, Lino and Rosemary LaBianca were killed. Manson ordered this, quote, "to keep the message going." They were tied up and stabbed dozens of times, and written on the walls in blood was "Rise and Death to Pigs." In October of 1969, Manson was arrested at Spawn Ranch initially on unrelated charges. He was eventually linked to the Tate LaBianca murders after Susan Atkins confessed in jail, and he was charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and multiple counts of homicide. Why would these people listen to Manson?
Yeah. I mean, does he just like have really good hair?
No,
Is he cute?
no.
Huh. He's
You
got
can
a
all.
guitar. He plays guitar.
And here's the rest of it. He used LSD, group activities, and psychological manipulation to brainwash his followers.
Like sexy group activities.
Yes, group sex.
Oh.
He convinced them he was Jesus, a prophet, and sometimes the devil. And they were all mostly young, isolated, and vulnerable, exactly what a cult leader preys on. And he gave them new names and erased their sense of identity. So, the trial began in 1970 and lasted 9 months. Manson carved an X into his forehead, later turning into a swastika, and the girls sang in court, praising Manson, laughed during graphic testimony, and took full credit for the crimes to protect him and showed no remorse. That's the kind of manipulation he had on these people. Prosecution, led by Vincent, argued that Manson never killed anyone himself, but was still the mastermind and manipulator.
Mm.
The courtroom had to be on lockdown because the other followers outside were threatening to kill the judge.
Stop.
The verdict was guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Manson and several followers were sentenced to death, later changed to life in prison when California banned the death penalty in 1972. The case changed America's view of the hippie movement from peace and love to murder and mind control. While in prison, Manson got caught with drugs, weapons, and cell phones. He threatened guards and other inmates. And then in 1978, Manson had multiple parole hearings and all were denied. Clearly, why would you even
Yeah, why
try?
would you try for that?
So Manson continued to gain fans and followers even behind bars. And then on November 19th in 2017, Manson died at the age of 83, still in jail. And these are some of the things his followers said he told them from their confessions. Quote, "He told us to leave our egos behind, to forget our names, our past, we're just souls." End quote. Another one says, "Charlie told me he was Jesus. I believed him. When you're in acid, it's easy to believe."
Oh, no, that's fair. They were always high.
Yep. LSD, acid, all of it.
Yeah.
And then the other one, he said the pigs, which, parentheses, rich people, had to die to start Helter Skelter. That is our duty. Do you want to know some of the things Manson has said?
Yes.
I can only find so much, but this one, I have a couple here. One of them was, "You are me and I am you." The other one is there is no such thing as death. It's just a change in consciousness. I don't lie to you. I may have never told you the truth, but I never lied. Another one was get your thinking out of their world and into mine. Total paranoia is total awareness. Helter Skelter is coming down. It's the end of the world as you know it. This one, I was just like, I hate this. You girls are the only real people left. Everyone else is dead already. I am everything. I am nothing. I am God and I am evil. And the last one I have is death is not the end. It's the beginning of the trip. Let me tell you, researching, and then I even looked up pictures of Manson because I was like, I want to know like what these women see. Absolutely nothing. But then once I realized, oh, when I found that quote of them talking about, it's easy to believe anything when you're on
When you're on
acid.
acid,
They
yeah.
were high all the time at Spawn Ranch.
I try to think about how the followers, I guess, could be manipulated, and I try to see their point of view from the psychological aspect. I mean, you've got somebody who is manipulating and they are promising all of these great things, and let's say that you're depressed and you don't want to still be here, and then you have this, I don't know, this guy who's claiming that he's prophecy and like, I'm gonna help you get a better life and you're gonna live with me and all is gonna be great and baby.
I just want into the mindset of the people that join cults sometimes. Like, I want to know your reasoning. I'm not judging.
Next on Chasing Midnight, we join a cult.
How about no? From cryptic prophecies to mass manipulation, tonight proved just how dangerous belief can become in the wrong hands.
Charles Manson weaponized fear. Jim Jones weaponized faith. And in both cases, hundreds paid the price. Some with their minds, others with their lives.
If you take anything from tonight's episode, let it be this. Sometimes the real monsters don't hide under the bed. They sit behind a microphone, a pulpit, or a peace sign.
Thanks for chasing midnight with us. If you like tonight's episode, be sure to follow, rate, and share. You never know who else might need a reminder to question who they're really following.
Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and whatever you do,
Don't drink the Flavor Aid.
Night night, love you.
Night night, love you.